The Crazyhouse Arena. It's getting late here and I'm bored, so let's watch some Crazy House. And why not pick the top game to begin with? Mr. Tanaka versus Trata Redeganat. So Black plays this flexible system where he hasn't decided yet whether to push the E pawn or the D pawn, and invites White to push the pawn himself. But sometimes it's just better to sit there and complete the development as White before you start pushing forward, because this might be a weakness. Maybe the pawn will land here. Okay, so White sacrifices a piece. I guess he will try to discover the attack here and pick up the knight. He tries to deflect the queen, so G5 will be a safe square. But remember that White sacrificed a piece, so now that he starts blocking and attacking the White queen, he might be able to pick up the bishop on G5 for free. So you need to put a bishop there so you control the H7 square. Putting a pawn here would allow knight at F6 probably. So dual purpose move here. And now just complete the development for Black. Keep harassing the White queen, maybe a pawn here, and pick up the bishop. Now this bishop is trapped. Now this is the kind of position where White could take and then put a pawn here and take and put a pawn here. Could be a perpetual. So another pawn here. Maybe White is satisfied with the draw. It looks risky to take on H5. So Trata Redeganat, I don't think I will be following him, because after a few drinks it's really hard to pronounce his name. Hi everyone, I see a few of you are watching. Welcome and cheers. So we have a draw. Let's go back and see who to watch. Maybe it's easier if I press the button here and if I pause. Okay, so let's see if anyone interesting has joined the tournament. Do we have any high-rated players here? I can't quite see anyone. But we can pick, for instance, Banana Joe. He's playing some low-rated player, but usually you can learn a lot from watching this. We see the same flexible black setup. Now black pushes d5, which seems to me a bad way to continue, because the e file will get open and that will favor white, who has a lead in development. Now the position is really open. Black needs to strike quickly before white gets the chance. Queen d3 wasn't the way to go. That gives black the opportunity to chase the white queen. You should put a pawn on f3, I think. And this is way too passive by white. And we're back in the game. If you just plug some pawns here on f3 and g2, there will be all sorts of mating threats around the white king. A heavy on h1 or a knight on h3 is mate. So where do you find them? This would be a good square to look at, because you are pinning the bishop. The bishop is pinning the knight and the rook. And now you threaten mate here, and you threaten the rook, so this is game over. And now the rook can land on either h1 or f1. White protects both squares. But simple deflection. I don't know why white didn't take with the other knight, but who cares? So do we have any other interesting players here? Yeah, we have Maple Keb. Is he playing? Seems like he's not playing. Or is he? Yeah, he is playing. Let's watch this game from the beginning. He's playing a low-rated player who plays an orthodox opening, but actually trapping Maple Keb's piece here in the opening. That was a bit clumsy. Or black. This is very instructive. Okay. Black won. Looks like a complete slaughter. He sacrificed his queen there for 2 light pieces and won easily. So do we have any one playing at the top here? Tai Fan is in the lead. Oh, let's watch this just for fun, just for Tai Fan, who's in the lead. This is not the way to make use of the extra white move, but maybe white just wants a position to play. I would have preferred d4 to put more pressure here, and just developing a piece to trade it is a waste of tempos. So black has strength on the center, the b file is open. Also, usually the bishop is slightly stronger than a knight. It's a more versatile piece. So black is already enjoying a favorable position. It's hard to find good moves for black. A bishop here would pin the knight. Actually, I would have kept the bishop here, because if white takes, black just takes with the pawn and increases the control in the center and opens the f-file. And that's dangerous. You could take here and take with the bishop. No, simply another bishop on h5 maybe. You should keep the pin in under any circumstances. So how do you do this? Maybe push the pawn. Maybe put a pawn here, because the bishop is defending. You could also try to trap the knight by putting a pawn on h6. If the knight goes back, you have a pawn on g4. Oh, don't give away that beautiful bishop. Why? It's not clear what the knight was doing here. So now white wants to pick up this little pawn for free. And white somehow misplayed this a little bit, but pawn here would regain the material. Also, if black takes on g3 and white takes back, there's a fork on e3. So white has to be careful here. Knight here looks good. It took him a while. And now you don't have to look for a mate, because there isn't one. Just start picking up the white pieces. When you're up on material, you don't always have to look for a mate. If the other guy that's in trouble, let him or her worry instead. So now white got to protect this, but this allows a mate with knight here and queen on e2. And white saw it. We have a new leader. And the name of the leader is apparently Leader. Okay. I will watch Maple Kev instead, I think, from Canada. And let's just take a brief look at the opening. Pawn sack that white ignores. So black switches to fianchetto setup with his light squared bishop outside the pawn chain. And this is a silly place for the knight, so now Black decides to retreat. He could have taken on c2 actually, maybe. With the idea of when the queen takes, you could take on d4. So this looks a bit weak, but I don't think the king will go in this direction in this game. I expect a bishop maybe here. Okay. What if White plays f3? Well, this is just futile. He gives up pawns for nothing. c2 is threatened and the queen is just... It looks active, but it's not. It's in trouble here. Black will simply move his rook. And this is nothing. They are just cramped. Threatening nothing. Just watching each other. Whereas Black's pieces are active. Maybe pawn f3. You have plenty of pieces looking at that square. On the other hand, you don't want to give White a pawn to put on f6, but it sure looks tempting to place the pawn here. So Black decides to put his king in safety. Rook e8. And okay, he doesn't want to spend the tempo on defending the rook, he goes for this immediately. And now if White takes, there's a fork on f3. Simply take here with fork threats everywhere. Okay, so you pick up the rook and you pick up the pawn. Everything is with check. No counterattack for White. And this is not so easy to defend against. I think he regrets putting the knight here because you would have needed the knight to place it on f2. Now there is no defense against rook here. Okay. And White simply has too much material. The pawn is ready to promote. But simply rook f1 in the next move is actually mate. Doesn't matter where the white king is going, rook f1 is mate. Knight is covering this square. Okay, so Maple Kev has won all his games. But the leader is Leader, so let's take a look at Leader's game. He's from Israel and... oh, never mind the opening. He's playing a very low-rated opponent. And that's usually why you see some low-rated players at the top of an arena in the beginning. White has excellent attacking chances. Although black is ahead on material because white has sacrificed a piece for a pawn. So how do you do this? You would like a knight here and a pawn here. You could chase the knight, but how to find the pawn also? So when you go into the corner, maybe leader will play the bishop here, and then you must not take because white takes. No, you cannot take back because you don't have a dying actually. So maybe white's attack is backfiring here. Knight here is an interesting way to defend, and then take back with a pawn. The rook is alive. Trading off the queens is a bit unorthodox because it allows queen at g8 followed by knight f7 mate, and white misses this. You shouldn't have to think about that mate. You should know instinctively when to do the smothered mate. So this gives black chances of survival. e6 is protected by the knight, so maybe bishop at h5 or queen at e7, bringing the queen back into the game. He shouldn't have traded the queens in the first place. And now you simply give the rook for 2 pieces. White is a bit optimistic here, I think. And notice that actually this queen might come in handy. Knight here, followed by another knight here, and the queen will take the rook on f1. You could also play it like this, knight here and then, no, sorry, not take here because you're in check. Okay, that was not the best move. The queen is trapped. Black had his chance there to win the game. Oops, they are trading bad moves here. And now it's mate in the next move. Okay, lots of blunders there. But leader, is he leading still? Leader still in the lead. So let's see what Maple Kev does in this game. Looks like white has a promising position. He has to look out for taking here and knight at e4, so the king gets out of the way. White has sacrificed a piece, but black blunders. Knight at f6, and now you should take the rook. doesn't matter that black picks up the queen. We can simply play king f2 and take back on d1, and white will get back material shortly. That seemed like an odd choice to put his king. Maybe bishop at f5, checking from a distance, not leaving the bishop hanging on g4. So this is not the way to do it. White could simply take on d1, I suppose. Now we have a knight in hand, which might come in handy. But look at the king on h3, that was unnecessary. It should have stayed at f2 instead, I'm sure. So rook at h8 maybe. He checks first. Now rook at h8, setting up discovered check. Okay, so this move covers h5. There are no checks here. I want to look at that game. And see what would have happened if black had played this instead. Is it nothing? King h4 and the king is safe. Yeah, probably. Because the king just... the king can babysit himself. White actually has a forced mate. Or is it black who has a forced mate? Check. Yeah, white wins here. Anyway, let's get back to the tournament. And Maple Kev is in the lead, playing Mr. Tanaka in a wild game. Let's have a look. This was an e4, e5 opening, and white invites some complications here, threatening to put the pawn on g7. So black blocks it, and white tries to put pressure on g7. Black's move. And now you should probably take with the knight, so when black takes back, you can take on g7 with check. Although taking with the knight here allows queen h4, taking h6 maybe. So should you play, for instance, bishop at g5 first, yeah? And only then taking on g7? So taking on g7 looks very tempting here. And I don't quite understand how black is supposed to defend here, because you're threatening to simply pick up the queen with the discovered check. A nice little audience. I hope you're enjoying your Saturday night. I know I am. So this doesn't really threaten anything. Black only has pawns, and that's not good enough. So quickly pick up that queen. Now we have a mating threat on e8. Wow, black got a check. You should probably go to e1. If you go here, black can get some defense here, but king e1 is a very cool defense. Threatening here again. And actually, if you take on d6, you have queen at d8, followed by knight takes, pawn here, taking there. So mate in a couple moves. Black resigns. Back to the tournament. Maple Kev in the lead. Who is he playing now? Let's just pick some game here. Banana Joe again. White has a material lead and he has a powerful position. He can place the bishop here. That gives up the d-pawn, but white will place a lot of pieces here, chasing the queen. And now black cannot take back because you have knight at h6. There is no smothered mate, but you can place the knight here and then simply take on g7, and queen at f6 is mate. Back to the tournament. Who did Banana Joe lose to? He lost to Taifun. Okay, let's look at this game. Maple Kev is playing black against a 2000 player. Gives up a pawn in the opening. And bishop b5 check. Is a very common reaction. White plays passive defense here. A bit too passive for my taste. So black has full compensation for his pawn here. And whenever you get hit by a move like this, this is usually a bad reaction, because it provides black with a beachhead here on e3. So you should stand your ground here. Let him take on c3. Just develop your pieces somehow. Don't give in like this. because now black is infiltrating, and black could have maybe played knight f2, maybe. So what's happening here? That's a nice trick, threatening to take on f3, and white didn't see this. Mate next move. So Maple Kev wins again. Leader seems to be in trouble here. So black needs to find something quickly. White is threatening to mate with a knight on h6. But black has defensive resources. Maybe bishop here and take here. That takes away the mating threat as well, at least. And it's not so easy to see how black should defend this. Maybe I would have begun with rook e2, so you don't waste your queen on e2. But now it's forced mate. You shouldn't have put the rook here, you can just take here now. And then the rook comes to e2 and it's mate in a few moves. So let's see. Queen takes f2. It's mate. Don't worry. You have the extra rook on e8. Let's use it. And rook at h1. Or rook here. Or pawn here. Now will you find it? You found another mate. So let's get back to the tournament. We have two players that have not lost a game. Also, Martin didn't lose a game either, but he hasn't played as many games as the others. Do we have any late entries by strong players? I cannot see anyone. Blitzer 88 has joined. So let's keep an eye. And pawn in training also. But maybe he's like me. Just signed up but not playing. So who is oh, they are playing each other. Let's look at this. So leader playing white. He takes the pawn, he takes the bait. Black gets a nice development here. Compensating for the loss of the pawn. And this looks a bit passive. So black plays his pieces a lot more actively than white does. This is a good reaction though. Forget about the knight. Let him take the knight. You can take back maybe. But taking back with the pawn might allow something. No. Taking back with the pawn is okay. Pawn here could have been a problem maybe. But you have to look out for the bishop landing here and taking on e2 also. So black just throws everything he has against the white king. But black doesn't have a lot of material, so simply take. Don't be nervous. You need to take on h3. This might be a good place for the bishop. And black tries to get 2 pieces for the queen. This looks a bit tricky now. So black wants to maybe take on g2 and use his knights here. This was really slow. I don't like that. White should take the opportunity now to launch an attack of his own. But black is threatening to maybe put a knight on e2 and then take on g2 with check. So this sets up some counterplay, maybe. Pawn here, or what is the plan? Because you have a discovered check then. Black only needs to take on g2 to clinch the game, but right now white is attacking. Do you move the king? So I would like to maybe check here, pick up the knight, and then some pawn here. The idea would be to place a pawn on e7 and then maybe knight here and discovered check. I'm not sure, and I'm too lazy to calculate. So this was an interesting continuation. Obviously you cannot take, but you can take d7. And now it looks like the king can safely retreat to the corner. And white never got the chance to get the bishop out and taking with the rook. I think simply... But is this really mate? What if you go this way with the king? No. Maybe. But this knight, it covers a lot of... Yeah, what after this? Very good defensive move, and Maple Kev is losing on time here. There's nothing for black, so white can afford spending a move to lure the king out. White can enjoy his position. Have a sip on his drink. White will win this. And that's the way to end the game. Just do something that black didn't pre-move against. Okay, so do we have leader in the lead in the tournament? No, Maple Kev still leading, but leader has a winning streak. He has won all his games. And high level game here. Looks like white is doing fine. He just needs to do a little bit of defending. Maybe take on e5. Putting all those extra pieces around the king. Black has some super laggy connection. Actually, I have to admit I don't like playing this guy because of the lag. So this gives white the time to attack now. Simply knight here, knight at e7. Black has nothing. And for sure black will lose some time. You can take on g7, pawn here. And the king's drawn out by magnet checks. Closing the exit to retreat very nicely. That king will not come back. Well, white is just trying to waste black's time, and he won on time. Back to the tournament. World of Tanks is in second place, playing Banana Joe, and let's watch this from the beginning. So maybe black was thinking he should fianchetto his black squared bishop, but this move made him probably change his plan. This move doesn't make much sense when black plays e5, because the bishop would just stare at that pawn on e5. So black has a very pleasant opening, and that blundered a pawn. You could simply retreat with the bishop and be happy. Black prefers to trade off some pieces. And this move weaken g3. Now a knight might land here. So maybe is c6 the move? You need more fuel in your attack, black. Now you have a nice little knight. And this knight is defended, so do you place the knight on h6 maybe to harass the queen? This little fellow is ready to advance. That was a bit annoying. And now, actually, white wins a piece here. So this is not what black wanted. Black needs to find a way to give that queen. Maybe here first. And after knight at h5, what do you do then? Queen g6 would allow knight e7 check. So do you simply take here maybe? and the bishop at h6. Is that the way to go? Now black is ready to place a bishop on g6. And as a matter of fact, why doesn't he do it now? I don't think this was quite as strong. Yes. Pawn here. Giving up the queen, but then you have knight at e7 and taking on g7 with check. As I said, I would have preferred to, instead of taking on g7, when you have a knight in front of your king, it's not very dangerous. So bishop here, probably. This is very close to mating. King goes here, queen at g7, king takes. How do you finish him? Yeah, simply bishop here and pawn g3 is mate in a few. This can go back if the king goes to e4. So World of Tanks is winning. And now Maple Kev is still in the lead. I didn't say that. World of Tanks, he actually berserked in that game. And who is Maple Kev playing? Maybe these guys could play each other. Yes! Now we're talking. So Maple Kev is playing white and World of Tanks is berserking. Let's go. This is an interesting way of making use of the lack of defense here. Black has put his bishop on b4. Sometimes you can just sacrifice your queen, but let's take this guy first, maybe. Or why not? So a pawn and a rook here is a very dangerous combination of pieces. If black gets the chance, he will snatch this pawn, threatening mate on d1. Is maybe bishop a3 a good move? Threatening rook f8. Check, also covering d1, so there is no mating threat in case black takes here. Whenever you put your knight on e7, you have to be aware that sometimes if this and this knight disappears and white has a knight in hand, all he needs is a die there and a knight there and it's a smothered mate. So this guy protects c3 and also threatens the knight on e7. And white is probably ready to take on e7. If the knight takes back, he can place the knight on. Oh, that was bad. Rook takes g8 and knight g7 check. And it's game over. White misses the chance. Hello there, go. I suppose it's go away. Slightly awkwardly spelled. Who else is watching? Welcome everybody. Oh, Joanna. Nice to see you here. So White missed a golden opportunity just a few moves ago. Here, look at this. Take here, knight takes back, knight at g7 check. And then you pick up the queen with an ongoing attack. But let's get back to the game. So White got to fork Black anyway. He got back his queen and he's up a whole rook and a pawn. Black is struggling here. This threatens to take on g8, and no, you just take on g8. A pawn will land here. Yeah, this is just hopeless. So Maple Kev defeats World of Tanks, and now we don't have any undefeated players at the top anymore, I think. Or do we? No, we don't. Everyone has lost at least one game. And Maple Kev is in the lead and he is on fire. So, who is he playing now? Okay, let's watch this game, even if I have problems pronouncing Black's handle. What's happening here? Let's watch the opening. Black sacrificed a piece to get a pleasant position. And White has left a bishop hanging here. Is he looking to place the knight here and take on e7 and then start attacking the black queen maybe? A very interesting idea. Maybe Black should try to find a good way to just give his queen here. But I don't see quite how. Because if you move your queen and you allow White to take on e7, queen takes back, and then the knight arrives on d5, White will just place all his pieces attacking the queen, maybe forking on c7, and White will get an unstoppable initiative. So Black doesn't give the queen just yet. But White is threatening to simply retreat with the knight. Mission accomplished. Now you can defend with a bishop on d5, simultaneously attacking the rook on a8. Maybe, okay. I suggest you just log into Lichess and you will find all the tournaments. Crazyhouse Arena. Maybe this is the link. Try pressing there. So White simply follows his plan, picking up the rook, and then the rook can land on c7, forking the king and the queen. Also, queen g4 taking on h4 is an idea. Because after you take on h4, you're threatening to play queen e7 check also. So lots of interesting possibilities here for white. You can place a knight on b6. Sometimes if black takes here, you have bishop f5 and exchanging queens. And I'm not sure what white was thinking there. Did he just blunder a whole queen? Yes, he did. In his mind, the king was standing on c7, I think. Oh, that was weird. Super weird. Because now, white has nothing all of a sudden. I can retreat with the queen, maybe. And if white takes here, what do you do then? Maybe take with the queen. Not allowing a fork here on d5. You could also... no. Well, it's not so easy to defend this black here. The queen sack here doesn't give anything because these squares are covered. So white decides to give up the black decides to give up the queen anyway. Knight here. I was a bit surprised about this. Knight at d5. So take, king somewhere where it doesn't get checked. And then after taking on c7, black has the chance to make a good move maybe. Do you check with the queen here? Take on... okay, so he picks up the knight with check. That was the idea. And after taking on c7, black is actually ahead on material. Yes, I was expecting this. You could either take here or here. And white probably needs to place his queen on e3 so he can play bishop f3 if black decides to go for the rook. But even then, taking the rook might be possible. So pawn here still allows bishop at f3 in case black takes here. But bishop here, queen takes, and rook g1 looks dangerous. Because if you place the bishop here, you have pawn g2. Oh, white only has queens. He needs to place a queen here. So black gets the material back at once. So not much to think about, simply take here. Although there is a rook hanging on H8, on A8. That's a bit annoying. So black tries to do what? I don't see how this helps black. We're just repeating moves here. So I suspect he just picks up the rook. But what is black supposed to do with the two rooks? I wonder why black didn't block here. Okay, we're down to the last few seconds here. So, why is black not moving? Simply take on C2. Okay, Maple Cab wins again, and he's cruising towards victory in this tournament. So, who do we watch now? This is another high-level game. Let's watch this. Pawn in training is white. And look, they are even in their games. 34 to 34. Black is threatening the queen and white is threatening the queen. This is a very useful defender. So black spends one move picking up the queen. And now, how do you find a quick attack here? It looks like black needs 2 moves to get started. This is a good start. And then simply place pawns on G4, F3. You could also maybe, if the bishop takes, put a rook here, pinning the bishop. So this guy protects G7. Yes, this pins the bishop. And probably black should just start placing dice here everywhere. He wasted his bishop on B7. So this was a bad square for the bishop. It's just not participating in the game anymore. And now white picks up the rook on h5. And black gives away his queen. Although this looks dangerous now. Threatening h6. Tremendous pressure on the dark squares. And white actually missed a mate rook here. Knight f7. He missed it again and again and again and again. So white simply doesn't see. Okay, he's trying to flag instead, and he succeeded. White missed mate in 2 there on several occasions, I think. Yes. Back to the tournament. And who is Maple Kev playing? Some 2100 guy. And he likes this pawn sacrifice. This is probably really bad because it's too greedy, tries to hang on to the pawn, creating weaknesses, doing nothing about the white development. A passive pawn placement on c2, and black is already probably a lot better here. Look at how all the black pieces are aggressive. So this gives a piece for 2 pawns. And an ongoing attack. So black has got his material back, you could say. 2 pawns for that piece, and look at how active black is. Cheers, Joanna. So when black takes here, he can place a bishop here maybe. Right now he only has diags. This forks 2 pieces. And whenever black gets a knight also, it should be game over. White should just resign here. Completely hopeless. So pawn here. Takes, and bishop check will pick up the knight. And if the king takes, you just take there and you place your bishop on e3, winning the queen. There was really no need to stop checking, but black is quite safe. Even knight at h6 is only a few checks. White doesn't have the material to get the attack starting. So he takes the queen. That was a bit optimistic. And there are several ways of finishing this. Taking the queen would be a good start. Then taking f2. So e2 check and mate next move. My knight is going just fine. I'm having a drink and watching Crazyhouse. I'm trying not to say anything stupid. How's your night? You're welcome, Joanna. So, perfect. Are you playing in the tournament? Yeah, Joanna is playing. Let's watch her game. She's playing black against I am Marcus. And instead of knight e4, I like d5, because now d5 was protected by the knight and the queen, and now d5 loses a pawn. Oh, maybe I'm just distracting if I comment this. I'll watch another game then. Let's get back to the tournament. I wish you good luck in that game. Who is Maple Kev playing? Some low-rated guy. Not very interesting. Let's watch this. World of Tanks against Leader. And World of Tanks, well, his tanks are just rolling down Leader's king's position. If he takes here, the queen joins the attack, and it's made in a couple of moves. So why didn't you bring your queen to the feast? Well, it doesn't matter. Bishop here, knight here, and it's mate. Okay, World of Tanks wins. Only 11 minutes left. And some people just quit playing. Roar. So how is Joanna doing in her game here? You're up on time, Joanna. That's a good sign. And Iron Marcus looks really, really, really nervous. Maybe. Or maybe I'm just kidding. So Joanna is pushing forward. Actually, she created some weaknesses in the white position. And there is a pin here. Black's initiative is growing. I would suggest, no, I'm not suggesting anything because Joanna is watching this. So this move attacks the queen and protects c6, and this looks like a very, very, very strong move. And instead of queening, she finds knight at f1. Only one move for white here. And I think there was a stronger move, actually. And maybe, just maybe, you got the opportunity to do it again. Yay! So I am Marcus could switch his handle to I am losing right now. I'm making you nervous. Ah, you shouldn't be nervous. If I was Marcus, I would be nervous. Because his position, well, he's the second best in this game. So, quickly taking with the queen, not giving away the queen. And look at those 3 queens, one here, and one over at, in hand. Wow, Joanna is really going for this. Is there a mate somewhere? So black is trying to force the H file open, I think. So, what happens now? Black gave up a queen. And suddenly black stopped checking. White missed the mate in 1. But I'm rooting for the black king, but I don't think that king will get very, very far. When will the journey end? I am Marcus is very nervous, I think. Missing a lot of mate in 1s. Oh, this is like a... Oh, he found it with 1 second left on the clock. Wow, what an adventure. Black was winning there at one point. Let's go back and see if we can find the winning blow. The winning blow is actually very pretty. Rook at h1 check. Forces knight takes, and then you have a g3 check. So if the king takes, you can take on h1 and you will mate shortly. And if the knight takes, you go back and you have the pin, and white goes back and it's mate on h2. And here also you could under promote to a knight. That would have been pretty. So f1 promotes to knight, and then you have knight check with your pawn, knight in hand and pawn on h2. Although knight here is also good, and then you had a mouse slip. So you intended to fork on g3, which would have been, of course, winning. And then white for some reason played this strange move, and you could pick up the queen. Queen at g1 is good, sending the white king out on the board. It's still good for black, but now it's a game. It's about even. This was good. Good, nice little queen sack here. Queen at f2 would close the exits and also threaten to place a knight on f3. This was interesting. You have a heavy landing on h1. The computer suggests taking on h3. Now I guess the idea is to take on g3. And the brutal h4 is recommended. This is still good. And now you have that cute little mate. Oh, you can always watch it afterwards. Let's get back to the tournament, because the tournament is about to end, isn't it? Let's see. Arena tournaments. Is this the one? Yep. Maple Kev is cruising towards the win. And let's see what happens against World of Tanks. Once again, he's playing the sacrificial line, and white just ignores the pawn sacrifice. And instead, oh, this is looking a bit dangerous for both players. Okay, so black tricked white, making use of this pin. A lot of knights landing here on the queen side. Not very clear what they're doing there, but I suppose you can just start taking the black pieces now. Probably you should just give up your queen, taking f6. This just looks bad. Taking away the cover of the black king. And now the knight lands here, and not queen at f2, but just picking up the bishop on d2. And probably retreating. So now we have a rook in hand. Rook at c3 is a real threat. This bishop is covering h6. Sorry white. Maybe you were happy for a while there. Although, only 5 seconds left. Will black deliver mate in time? I don't think so. He's just pre-moving, plundering the queen. And World of Tanks wins. Nice win for World of Tanks. Only a few seconds left. Congratulations to Maple Kev, who wins the tournament. Yay, Maple Kev wins. And sorry for keeping you awake at this late hour, here in Sweden anyway, but I just had to do some live broadcasting, and this was the only tournament, only games going. Okay, maybe I should play something myself. Some 1-0. Have I played this guy before? Once before. So let's go. Max R2 723. You have 5 seconds to move. He didn't want to play. Read Terminator. I don't like playing with increment. So let's see if anyone wants to play. Joanna wants to play. Okay, let's go. 3 minutes. And what should I do? I don't know any openings, so... Roar. You sure like to send your knights forward. So, come on, I'm waiting. So, doing a little bit of threatening myself. And maybe I just finished castling, picking up a piece on the way. She's coming for me. But it's not so easy to push those pawns forward. Now I win another pawn. I look out. F7 is under fire. I will take that pawn. And you better be careful now. Yeah. If you go to F8, I have knight at G6 mate. But this will all end in tears. I'm afraid. I don't even need to place the knight. I can just go there. So you just keep challenging me. 1-0. Oh, let's go then. So I gave up my queen, but I got it back. Yay. And now I'm attacking. Checkmate. I'm starting to get bored of just moving these knights out, the first 2 moves. But somehow I can't resist it. That lets me develop my d-pawn, gaining an extra tempo. So I'm just eating all the pieces I can get my hands on. unfortunately, I think this is a problem for black. And now I suppose I can just take on e7 and mate. Haha, no sacrifice on f7 now in this game. And now I have a plan. You're attacking my queen. So maybe this is a problem. You're threatening mate on d7. I have to find some plan here. This was not quite what I had planned, but let's try to survive. I'm losing. No. Very well played, Joanna. But now I will punish you. So bend over. Oh, now I can see your chat actually. Now I'm coming for your f7 square. Yummy. And I'm going to take that. And where are you going with your king? Okay. And I missed mate in one. I'm blaming Captain Morgan. Yeah, I'm so embarrassed. And I like you with Pepsi. Dr. Morgan, yeah. So I lost the last game, and now I'm super nervous. What to play here? I mustn't allow any sacrifices. I'm going to play like this. Trade queens. and attack e5. A healthy extra pawn. A healthy extra piece. So, check on the king. Check, check. And where is the mate? Let's take a knight. That might come in handy, like in the next move. Mate. Actually, that's a very good way of playing against my opening. I like h5 also. So I just defend a little bit and take all your pieces. Look at that bishop on h3 covering d7. So maybe you thought you were going somewhere. I'm afraid you're not. Checkmate. Yeah, take your time. So what should I play here? I have the chance to take on f2, and it's probably not very sound, but I will do it anyway. Yeah, it's like a virus. I feel this urge to sacrifice. So why don't you come and visit my G4 square? Very strong move there, sacrificing on f2. And now I will sacrifice on f7. Look at my attack. Super dangerous. Black is completely defenseless. Maybe I was exaggerating a little bit. Or a lot. But at least I got to check your king. And once more. And once more. And a double check. And mate. Excellent strategy. Sacrificing on f7. So what should I play now? Let's improvise. Haha, and no sacrifice on f7 for you. And look at my strong queen there. Check. And next move, I take your queen. I see you've been working on your Swedish. So how do I finish this? And I got sack on f2 again. And look, it's mate the next move. Woohoo. So is this one for all the marbles, or? Ten in a row. Then I need to play exactly 4 more games. Oh, it's my move. And remember, you used to play e5 here. Remember, it was really, really bad. Because it just loses a pawn. And now I will chase your queen. And fork some pieces on the way. That's a cute checkmate. A real nightmare. Yeah, grab your beer. Because you will need it. Is anyone watching us play? Hello, everybody. So what should I play now? So maybe if I play f6, there is no way you can sacrifice on f7. And I hide my knight here. That's my ninja knight. And I just stay at home with my pieces. Come on. Oh, she's taking my ninja knight. Okay, thank you. Oh, you had another queen. How many queens do you have? Where do you find all those queens? Ta-da! But now I'm escaping. Look how easily I escape. And actually that was mate. Funny one. So maybe I should try this as white as well. Yeah, and I want the ninja knight on f2. I'm not sure what I'm doing here, but let's pretend it's good. I have an open G file to work with, at least. Thank you very much. And I'm thinking maybe I can put a knight on f6 in the next move. Yay! Oh, I'm thinking too much. Checkmate. Yes, I was very scared there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, you mean the 10 in a row? So, what to play here? Let's send this rook out on the mission. Ta-da! Excellent strategy. I already won a piece. And now I won a pawn. You are so generous, Joanna, handing me all those pieces. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. And you don't have any pieces in hand, so what are you going to do after I place my bishop on a6? No. Look at my queens. So strong. I never play e4, but let's give it a shot. So maybe that was a good move, actually. I kind of feel like taking on g7. Oh, you took with the rook. Now this is good for me. But I'm down on time. Nice checkmate there. Sneaky. Sneaky checkmate. Yeah, one more. As long as my glass is not empty, I will play. Oh, I did. Yeah, I can see you're a handful. And thanks for wishing me good luck. And I wish you good luck because I'm taking your pawns. And now I'm taking another pawn, and I'm 2 pawns up. Oh, you got to take on f7. That was sneaky. But I got to take your rook. And I'm sorry, but I can take on f7. And you're welcome to take my rook, because otherwise I will take your queen with check. And now I suspect that I'm slightly better. Yes, I'm right. Okay. Thank you so much for playing, Joanna. Is there someone else who wants to play? Thank you. So please challenge me for some relaxed crazy house. Don't be shy. I can see that some of you are watching this. Well, I started playing Bug House many years ago, and I liked it more than chess. So actually Crazyhouse is not my game, but Bug House is. But as long as it's difficult to find a... Yeah. It's not so easy to play Bug House, a proper game of Bug House online these days. There was this place called Fix, where I played a lot. And I was the best in the world for several years. But then I quit playing some 20 years ago. Hence my old has-been nickname. So I didn't play for many years. But as a sort of a surrogate, I started playing Crazyhouse instead. And nowadays I don't really care about the rating points. I just play for fun. And doing live commenting is actually quite fun also. Yeah, drop variants are the best. I enjoy the occasional chess game also. So does anyone else want to play? You mean other than chess books? I like reading about history and languages and all sorts of... Is it called popular science in English as well? Well, behind me it's mostly chess books and books about mathematics. But I hardly ever read anything about chess these days. Oh, history and language. Actually, I have this place on the internet called Ancient Origins. I love to read those articles. I read them all. But I'm pretty much interested in anything. That has to do with science or chess, or what's the top game on leeches and commentate? You mean Crazyhouse or? Yeah, you're welcome, Flavio. So, where can I find a nice game to comment on? Is someone playing here? Is this a chess game or is it a top and watch? So this is chess. I don't know much about chess, but I can see that white is Crazyhouse. Crazyhouse. That was sneaky. So this is a top Crazyhouse game. Ah, perfect. Look at those black squared bishops defending everything around the black king. So black can just lean back and throw whatever he has in hand at the white position. So one good place to put that is e2, because now you can take on e4. The question is, should you take with the knight or the rook? Well, it doesn't really matter. Threatening to take g3 with check. Now you can take on f4. So pawn here maybe, yeah. Let's just keep going, take f3 as well. Yeah, Trat. I'll call him Trat, thanks. Now you can take f3 if you want, because you have a fork on f3. Oh, sorry, on h4. But I hate playing Trata the Redegana because he lags so much. And playing quick games like 1-0, which I prefer with lag, is not my cup of tea. He's always at 2 measly dots. Yeah, that's another reason. So now he missed knight at f4, followed by queen g2 mate. There is still knight at h4, because this is pinned and this is pinned. But he's winning on time anyway, so it doesn't really matter. He won. So watch. So now I will watch the top Crazyhouse game the whole time, I suppose. Never heard of these guys. And did they draw in the... What happened? What the hell happened? So are they abusing the rating system or what? Black resigned. Who is this? Trata de ganarte. Aha. Okay. Very interesting, thank you. So, what happened here? Leeches, TV, and Crazyhouse. So, Frodo. I played Frodo a few times, I think. Or didn't I? Surely I played Frodo. And White is just winning here. Maybe he should have moved his knight so he can come out with his queen. What's a GPA? GPA. So grade point average. So bishop here, queen just takes, and there's a fork on e6. Black is actually alive and well in this game. He only needs to place all those pieces on the right squares. F7 was not the right square. G6 covering F5 would have been a better place. But Black is going strong here. It's hanging here, the knight is hanging, and White is just losing. Black is taking all the pieces. So I kind of feel sorry for White here. Black takes everything. Put the queen here, restricting the White king, and it's mate in 1. Oh, Joanna is the queen of Crazyhouse streaming. So you could place a knight on e4 here, deflecting the bishop, and then you have queen e2. Oh, you should have placed the queen on e2 before you took on e4. Yeah, I noticed she is streaming Crazyhouse as well. So, knight here, deflecting the knight, and queen d3. That was a greedy move. So place your knight here, please. Stop being greedy and passive, and place your knight on e4 and queen on d2, so we can watch another game. Looks like black is just mocking white. White resigned. Oh, thank you, Flavio. Actually, Crazyhouse is not my cup of tea, really. Bughouse is, but Crazyhouse will do until they fix Bughouse online. So who are playing now? Dariush Moalemi and Becker Boy. Yeah, the difference is that when you play Bughouse, you play on two boards. So you need a partner. And when you capture a piece, just as in Crazyhouse, it changes color, but you send it over to your partner instead. So your partner gets it in hand and can place it on the board. So that's the difference. So Crazyhouse on one board and Bughouse on two boards. I would consider taking on e2 and placing the pawn on f3. This gives white a very strong defense. Just place your bishop on f2. White needs a couple of moves to place his pieces, but then the light pieces will be really, really strong here. So start placing those light pieces. Not on your back rank. Go forward, please. Okay, that's a good place. Protect your king. So a knight on b3 would have been much better, because this bishop is just staring at that well-protected pawn on d5. The knight would have hit both a1 and a5. So white doesn't have a plan here. He's just placing pieces randomly. White is ahead on material because he has two pieces for the queen. But the way that these players are playing, anything could happen. So now it's more like a chess game where black has a queen in hand. So just ignore this bishop and place your own bishop on e5. And now actually, black, what are you doing? You should place your pawn on this second rank, not the knights. You need to put your pawns there so you can promote them. And don't take, so he can promote now. Okay, thank you, Joanna. Oh, this is torture. Why do they place the pieces where they place them? I don't understand anything. This is killing me. Oh, you should go forward and try to mate. Yeah, see? I'm glad too. So we will see a super time scramble here. Who will win? So exciting. Actually, black is close to the white king now. Will anything happen? No. Black will lose some time. Maybe. Mate. Rook g1. Oh, fantastic. With less than 1 second left. Okay, I will call it the night. Thank you for watching and see you around. Bye bye.